Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing if this is something you end up enjoying. You never know, it could happen. Today we've got Tuesday Reviews Day. It is another review. I am the most inconsistent booktuber I know as far as where I film things. Just sometimes you gotta get, first of all my stuff out of the way, because it gets crazy with 4 kids, and then I can never put things back where to maintain any consistency. Plus, I'm filming in a new spot yet again. So anyway, with all that out of the way, let's jump into a review of The Republic of Thieves. All right, The Republic of Thieves is the 3rd book in the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch. I've absolutely loved and adored books 1 and 2. That's The Lies of Locke Lamora and Red Seas Under Red Skies. They are literally in my all-time favorite books. And to let the cat right out of the bag, this one's right there on the same level. I may rate it as my least favorite of the 3, but that's talking 3 S-tier books. Probably on any given day, I'd like one more than the other anyway. But this is, I think, solidly my least favorite of the 3. But again, compared to so many fantasy books out there, these are still at the top, and so is this one, even though it is my least favorite. First things first, we look at the cover. Look at that cover. To be honest, it's spot on for what this book entails. It's actually really good. I love the cover. I will say I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm a diehard for a ship, so Red Seas Under Red Skies definitely takes the cake so far as covers, but this one is very accurate and very good. I really love it. Very mysterious, like who are these people? So anyway, great cover. First off, I do need to warn you, there's going to be some spoilers for books 1 and 2, and I'll let you know for any spoilers for this book, book number 3. All right, so the summary. Let's go with my second in my rubric here for reviews. The summary is, as we know from Red Seas Under Red Skies, Jean and Locke are not in a good place after the end of that, especially Locke, who is still poisoned, still under having that issue, right? So guess who gets involved? It's the Bonds Magi. And so the Bonds Magi are back. They kind of played a role in the last book, but not really. It was just kind of like to be more of a nuisance and kind of get things moving. But this one, they definitely play a bigger role. So what happens here and to kind of start off the plot in this book is essentially, and as usual, this book does the usual Gentleman Bastards where we have the present day and then the past. And so we switch back and forth throughout the book. So in the present day, the Bonds Magi need Jean and Locke, with all of their skills, they need them to rig an election. That's essentially how the Bonds Magi, with their political structure, kind of get things done. And there's factions and there's all kinds of things. So we learn a lot more about the Bonds Magi, which is pretty good because they're definitely mysterious. You know, so any information is good to kind of find out how they function, how they work. So that's the present day, is them working through, trying to rig an election. Then we get to the past. The past actually is my favorite part of this book, frankly, and usually that's not the case. Usually it's like, let's get over this past part so I can get back to what's happening. This was kind of like, oh, we have to go back to the present. Not too much, but there was some of that. I really like the past part. And essentially in the past, we have our real solid introduction to the legendary Sabbatha. Sabbatha's here. She plays a huge part in this book. And we've been hearing about her. We've been having this, constant kind of talk. And Locke's always been kind of love struck over Sabbatha. And so we have this past where the Gentleman Bastards themselves, as they're younger and kind of in their malleable years where Father Chains is still around, he sends them out. He realizes they're getting having it too easy. They need some changes here. So he sends them all out to become actors in a play for a certain famous director, I guess you can call it. And so they go up there, and again, of course, it's never as you think it's going to be. They've immediately got to get this guy out of prison to even try to become actors for him. Anyway, so it's pretty good. And it starts off a really good chain of events that is very interesting, very compelling, and all that. So that's all I'll go into, with trying to not get into too many spoilers with this book. I love quotes. That's my third thing. I want to make sure that you get an idea of what this book is about. Stand aside and try not to catch fire if I shed sparks of genius. Think about who that might be. And I think, this is, I don't know, it feels like this hasn't changed much, but I think it's pretty accurate here. A boy may be as disagreeable as he pleases, but when a girl refuses to crap sunshine on command, the world mutters darkly about her moods. Oh, man. That's one thing that Scott Lynch does so well, is this kind of like profanity that's so creative. That's a funny one to me. I thought this was a good one, and again, very wise, because I feel like it's pretty accurate in what I do a lot. What my therapist tells me to get over. Quit being so hard on yourself. We are what we are. We love what we love. We don't need to justify it to anyone, not even ourselves. There's a lot of that. So, especially ourselves, we're the hardest on ourselves. Another one, what is government but theft by consent? So anyway, little gentleman bastards, justification there. Anyway, let's jump into my likes versus dislikes. This is definitely where we get into some spoilers, so I'll let you know. In fact, if you don't want any spoilers, just jump ahead right now. I'll put it down below. The things that I love, when I'm reading in the Gentleman Bastards world, I am sucked in. I am immersed. I am in love. I can barely function. It is so hard, and I am just mentally, I am in that world. And so that does a lot. That says a lot for Lynch's world building, his characters. I am just absolutely best friends with them while we're going through this. Absolutely love it. And so he's got that ability to just pull me in fully into his world. And again, it has a lot to do with the characters. I love these characters, and I love the new characters that he introduces, or old characters we've been hearing about that we get to know. Especially, we learned a lot about Sabbatha, and I have some feelings about Sabbatha. And I'll save it maybe for my dislikes, but it kind of pulls it around. Anyway, did like I already mentioned, I liked getting to know the Bond of the Magi better. Again, it kind of just, it gets into this world building a lot better, a lot more than we've ever even had before. It is kind of like, all right, let's see what else this world has to offer. But with the Bond's Magi, I'm still curious about them, and I still think they're used very well here. The whole play, like I said, I loved going back in the past with this, getting to the play, tricking the guy to let... tricking the noble to let the play director out of jail, and then essentially fund it, and then constantly having to trick him and dealing with him, but just the play itself, it's actually very impressive. Like, there's lines from the play constantly read, and the play literally is the Republic of Thieves. Again, why I'm like, maybe I was meant to like the past better than the present or future part, because it's literally what the whole book is talking about. It's the title of the book. But I loved it. I loved the whole play. I loved them being involved in it, them being con artists, and so they immediately are good actors anyway. They've already been working on that. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's go into, because Sabbatha is kind of like a like and a dislike. So, started off, I did not like Sabbatha. So it's a dislike for sure for a while. She reminded me, I had this friend, and this is part of my own, this is a personal experience. I had a friend in college that was just literally locked for Sabbatha. It's like, explains it the best. So in love, would drop anything for this girl. And the problem is she knew it. And so as soon as something better came along, she was gone. As soon as she needed, I don't know, just got lonely or whatever, she was back kind of toying with him. We, as my friend's friend, our group of friends, hated her so much because she just would toy with him, and she knew that he would always be there, and always, because he was love struck. He absolutely was. So she reminded me a lot of that, and it was hard not to kind of see those things in her. Now, having said that, as you get to know her, that is absolutely not her. And I'm so glad just the characterization that Lynch does it's very compelling and it works so well. You do get to know her and love her, and so that's some of the, I don't know, I just felt like she did become one of the Gentleman Bastards. Now, one of the problems with that, and that's why this kind of, it felt like it was more of a dislike section than anything, was that, you know, a couple books now, like, Locke's like this prodigy of a con artist, right? Like, he's so good that, like, the con artists are like, whoa, 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 hold it back, like reel it in, dude. And so it was a little hard to have Locke just kind of fail over and over again. And so it's Locke pitted against Sabitha in the present, and she would just have him over and over and over again. And it was hard to take, because you're just like, I thought this was like this amazing, like, prodigy of con artistness. And Sabitha never was like painted as that. I mean, she's good and all that. And again, grew up in the same way, but it wasn't like, I never got the impression that she's just like, again, a prodigy, like this, like extra specially good con artist like Locke was given. Like, that's his characterization. To have him constantly fail throughout the whole book was just kind of like, what? And he kind of, I mean, there's a couple times he got one over on her, but even in the end, you're just like, you're waiting for her to kind of get her comeuppance, because that's been some of the beauty of these books, is, and that's probably why this is the least favorite, because like in Lies of Locke Lamora, you have that ending and you're just like, man, it's so devastating, but you get some sweet revenge, and that feels great. It's served cold. It's not served cold enough, probably. It is some sweet revenge, though. And even in Red Seas Under Red Skies, you get some revenge there, even though they still leave with some struggles, some you know, in a bad spot. You get some of that revenge, and then for this one to just kind of be like, they tied. Like, what? Again, I guess maybe it was more of like sticking it to the Bonds Magi, because they were kind of on Sabitha's side. So I kind of get that, but it just still felt just like, I don't know, without any explanation that like that Locke was trying like purposely to not just blow her out of the water, or at least do, you know, like, again, because I think he was trying, because he's trying to like help her too. I don't know. It felt like there wasn't enough, at least, explanation that if that's really what he's trying to do, that we would have, I guess, heard about that and understood that a little better. But again, maybe that was on me. Maybe I didn't catch some things, I am happy to admit, where I didn't read closely enough or something like that, if that is the case. Going back in the past, as much as that was my favorite part or of the book, of the timelines, I guess, I have to say it was a little hard to go back to Kahlo and Galdo, who had died in book one, and now we're going back in the past, and Kahlo and Galdo are there. It was good to see them again, and you're like happy, but at the same time you're like, I've like grieved, okay? Like, and to open up that wound after I've already grieved over these past years, it was kind of rough. It was kind of a struggle for me. So I have to say, like, I mean, I get it, and I get like part of like, that's the whole structure of these constantly is going back in the past, explaining some things here. That's how that works in the future or the present, whatever. But it was a little gut wrenching to deal with that. All right, so that's my likes and my dislikes. Let's get into, if you like this, then you'll like this. So I'm gonna go. It's the same that I've already been going on with these. Joe Abercrombie, Mark Lawrence are really at that same level. If you really want to go, like they're with kind of that like grim dark brigade of like, was it Erickson, Martin, Baker, I think. I haven't read any Baker though, so I can't really say. But you know, this kind of like more nihilistic kind of, you know, anything goes, and you know, your MC isn't as safe as, let's say, in like Lord of the Rings. And so, but in also having this like very quotableness, this often hilarious, you know, that's why Mark Lawrence and Joe Abercrombie really are the closest to Scott Lynch. But I do feel like Scott Lynch does bring his own very uniqueness to this whole thing. And so, and again, very clever schemes and cons and all that really make it fun. All right, here's my rating. 10 out of 10. I already said this is like S tier, and like slightly lower S tier than the other two, sure, but it's still 10 out of 10. This is an easy one. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.